All right, little Donovan going on in the background. Yes, way down in the lonely ocean where she made me. Hail Atlantis. So, hey, everybody, what's up? It's Monday. Lots of energy. Hello, Miss Sarah Horton. How you doing? So good to see you, hon. David Castle, good to see you. Saw you on the Milky Way Soul Tribe. Looking good, buddy. Hey, Belanca. Susie Q, how are you? Gaza, how are you, my friend? Lost in space. And thanks to all the moderators, you beautiful people. Hey, Deborah Sloan, Pamela Jean, good to see you. Doris, hello, everyone. Peter, good to see you. So, what's up? How was your strong end of the week? I mean, technically, I think Sunday's the beginning of the week. So I guess that would be the strong end. Hey, the Grandpa Brian, good to see you. And Barry Chad, Bernadette, good to see you. Regina, hello. Uh, hey, Jenny, good to see you, my dear. Gaia, what's up? Hey, Ann, good to see you. Inspire, good to see you as well. Bonnie. So, Renee, how are you? Much love and Bosto. So, let's do the virtual hug. After seeing some of the energy, man, some people you just got to have a hug. Come on, just let that energy flow. And it's really important. We're going to find out, even though we may use, you can say substitutes, actually, teddy bears are actually servitors. Bet you didn't know that, did you? Yes, bears, other stuffed animals. It's amazing. Dolls. These are actually servitors. And although they may look to be inanimate, they are physical matter made of the same stuff you and I are. And once you charge them, it's amazing. Lots of stories about haunted dolls, haunted stuffed animals. But, if there is a haunted, then that means there has to be a direct opposite. And in this case, my co-pilot here, here's where we see the opposite. This inanimate object has been empowered with love, compassion, empathy. That's powerful. It's more powerful than fear ever hopes to be. So there you go. Something to remember, in favor to everyone. Full restoration and happy birthday and anniversary. You got one coming. So what's up? Hey, Kaz. Speaking of Kaz is going to be on tomorrow with Trina and I on a second look. So always look forward to having Kaz on. She is cool. What else? Hey, Loretta, what's up? Kent, good to see you, my man. Who is that boot? I didn't see it, went by that quick. Zigzagzilla, how you doing? Jasna Frakes, good to see you. So who's else? Hey, Emperor Rex, good to see you. Hope you have your beverage of choice, whatever your libation may be. Cheers. Iced tea. Man, can't go wrong with it. That's all I got to say. And hey, Carol, what's up? Hey, Nina the Mystic. Hello, you. Good to see ya. So, as you could see, maybe I don't know if any of you saw the beginning of the chat, but let me just say this to all those people. This is not the forum to come in here and, preach. It's not going to work. And I appreciate the concern, but quite frankly, we go with mutual respect here. I mean, you can believe whatever you want to believe. That's fine. We're all behind that. Right arm. But don't come proselytizing. It doesn't work here. And moderators, you know this already. Hey, Mad Cow, what's up, John Price? We'll shut you out. If you want to bring in positive energy, loving energy, fine. But if you're coming in here talking about judgment and repentance, take that outside. I don't go into your house and take a crap in the middle of your dining room. Don't do the same here in mine. Just respect everybody here. So, having said that, boom, mic drop. Let's see. Kayla uh, took a fall yesterday, and Kayla is she's part of the soul tribe. She needs healing. She needs some energy healing sent to her in her hip. She almost broke it. So yeah, let's send some energy. And I'll tell you, I believe this is probably going to be, I can tell you, I already have enough material for at least 3 lessons in this thing, 3 episodes. But I will tell you this, by the time we get finished with this material, you will be in the 0.000% of human beings that will have a knowledge, a working knowledge of something that the rest of humanity just goes right over. So let's see. I'm just trying to read the chat room. So, Kent, you fell on Thursday and bruised your tailbone. Okay. You see, folks? Yeah. And this was a complete, she wrote me, this was a complete accident, you know? So, yeah, the energies are high, folks. That's all I got to tell you. It reminds me back in junior high and high school, I was in the orchestra band. And it's like, you're sitting on the first row of, the violin section. And, you keep on turning that string tighter and tighter. It's going to change in pitch. It's going to change in vibration. And if you continually tighten it, eventually, reach a point where the tensile strength no longer can take the pressure. And then you're not making any music out of that. It's going to shatter, because that's what happens when thoughts begin to crystallize. So without this, without any further ado, hey, Spirit Woman Colorado, how's it going? Gilbert Smith, good to see you. Dragon, Soul Fox, hello. Danny, Skylark, how are you doing? Good to see you. Let's get right into it. I know you're going to like this. I've had fun putting this together. The material is just, yeah. Anyway, so let me start off by saying this. When I meditate, I try to begin, and even when I fall asleep, to practice the mental discipline of removing myself from I, removing myself from even addressing myself. The question I asked myself as last night, as I began to merge into that realm between the conscious world and then the real world, is, why do I address myself as I? When you really stop and think about it, and this is going to get deep, this is going to be eye-opening. It's more than that. I think it's going to have deep revelation for many of us. So let's get right into it. I love doing these presentations. Let me just move that, please. So here's a question. Do you know how to think? Now, I know it sounds like like I wrote in the description box. It sounds ridiculous, but like everything else in this realm, you have to be taught. Now, we're taught in school, we're taught to become cognitively aware on many different disciplines. And that is a form of thinking. But then again, it's what I call foundational building of thinking. But the ability to actually know how to think and think is 2 different things. Here's a question. How is it that thoughts can feel? Now, my wife and I were talking about this, and she said, it's an interesting question because thoughts, they they do have emotion. They invoke emotion. Thoughts can feel pain, fear outside the physical aspect of pain. Fear is 99% thought, mental. Desire for material wealth, desire for sexual gratification, desire for any type of gratification begins to set off a whole set of intense thoughts. And then joy. It's quite fascinating when you begin to think about thoughts. The analysis would suggest that that is what it is. It's all in our head. Science cannot define the soul. It cannot define spirit. Einstein is the one purposely probably to take most of the blame when man, in his discipline of discovery, completely put the ether outside the realm of science. Magic, for that matter. As I said in my saying, modern science is outdated magic. But getting back to the thought. So if we were to look at this from simply a physiological point of view, thought is nothing more than activation centers within an organ called the brain, which is divided into 3 different parts, but has many other aspects, and is simply the firing of neurons that travel through a synaptic pathway that reach an end destination that bring thought. All of us have this. We've often heard it said that thoughts are things, and there are many among us who are persuaded of the truth of this statement. Yet very few of us have any clear idea as to what kind of thing a thought is. And the object of this presentation is to help us to conceive this. Folks, you are about to take a journey very few of you have ever taken. And I found it to be quite, how shall we say, titillating. It was taking me in new places, expanding this idea of thought forms. You and I are a thought form in a full material integrated into the ethereal spiritual aspect. We are nothing more in our simplest essence than a thought form. If thought is the original of everything, without the observer, there is no universe. Nothing exists. It is only when the observer is present does anything exist. So, in order for anything to exist, there had to be an original thought. And from everything from that original thought, when it came into being, whenever that was, everything else is merely a thought form. A majority of human thoughts, however, are by no means simple. Absolutely pure affection, of course, exists. And when you think about pure affection, when you find that passion of an art, a discipline, a profession, a mate. In those brief eclipses, you find perfection in thought. However, very often we find it tinged with pride or with selfishness, with jealousy, or with animal passions. This means that at least two separate vibrations appear both in the mental and astral bodies. Frequently, more than two. The radiating vibration, therefore, will be a complex one, and the resultant thought form will show several colors instead of only one. All thoughts have color. And the interesting thing is that because we have the ability to either house, generate, or create thought. Some question we don't really have original thought. I tend to disagree with that because if I am observing myself as I, then that means I am merely being observed by the observer. That means I exist in multiple planes, in multiple frequencies, and multiple dimensions at the same time, even though I'm encased in the frequency of modulating matter. But we all exist in the astral, the physical, and the mental. It's this interesting thing that if you looked at yourself as not being human, think of yourself as a thought form without substance, without definition, without the essence of being more than just the thought. You would look for, in this case, where bipedals are concerned, an organ that would allow you to exist within it without ever being exposed. You would integrate yourself before birth to begin the integration, the adaptation process of you beginning to merge the essence of your thought form into this living organism, the thinking brain. When you look at this organ, it's unlike anything else in the body. Now, look at this from the perspective that you have to have a host. That's why maybe we seek to continually come back. Because in spirit, we have no form. All of us will experience, you're going to experience disorientation upon your death as you transcend, and that's what it's called, transitioning. Did you know that's what they call it in hospice? When a patient is dying, right before that moment of death, it's literally a technical medical term. You're in transition. And that's because you are now being rejected out of this organ, but this organ has allowed you the ability to integrate your thought form into a physical body, into a host. That's why if you ever injure it, if you injure your brain Or if you have Alzheimer's, dementia, this begins to affect your thought form. You have the essence of your thought form in its purity before you do the integration. And when you first come through the veil, that's why it's a clean slate. It has residual traits. That's you. But the thing about it is that the body has a spirit as well. Because the spirit body is allowing you to be a co-occupant in this organ. Gets weird, doesn't it? Each man travels through space enclosed within a cage of his own building, surrounded by a mass of the forms created by his habitual thoughts. Through this medium, he looks out upon the world, and naturally he sees everything tinged with its predominant colors. They say one of the aspects, and I can testify to this, that when you have a near-death experience, many people do see colors. They will tell you they're not the kind of colors here. Colors here are muted. The real colors are what your aura looks like, your thoughts. I mean, it's what it really looks like. Anyway, and all rates of vibration which reach him from without are more or less modified by its rate. Thus, until the man learns complete control of thought and feeling, he sees nothing as it really is, since all his observations must be made through this medium, which distorts and colors everything like badly made glass. I knew a glass blower, and she was quite remarkable because to her, the alchemy was in the beginning. And as the elements begin to melt and to blend and become cohesive to one another, she can actually see what the glass is going to be like. And if there's an imperfection, it's of no good. So here's a question. What do your thoughts look like? I challenge you right now. Everyone in the chat room, stop. And don't be trivial. Don't try to be the wise guy, all right? It's a challenge. Stop without giving thought. What do your thoughts look like? Describe them in detail. I challenge you. And if you're an honest person, most likely you're not going to be able to do this. Very, very few can. It's extremely difficult. And I challenge you. You see, the average person has, within a minute time, hundreds, some thousands of thoughts. How do you describe each thought? And here's the weird thing. You're giving birth, each one of those. There is a realm that exists. It's so distorted in its perceptual spatial reality because it's the realm, and it's a dimension, folks, of where thoughts go. To go in there is to experience insanity because the thoughts are everywhere. Pretty bizarre. So real quick, we're going to get into colors. Because see, all thoughts have color and what they mean. Now, this is just a very we're going to get into each one of these. And I know that the print down the bottom, don't worry about it. I have it in another slide. But this is thought, complete thought. And what we're learning here is that once you can identify color to thought, wow, it's going to really help you take control of your thought forms, your servitors, your tupas. All right. Black means hatred and malice. Makes sense, right? Red, of all shades, from lurid black red to brilliant scarlet, indicates anger. Brutal anger will show as flashes of lurid red from dark brown clouds, while the anger of noble indignation is a vivid scarlet. By no means unbeautiful, though it gives an unpleasant thrill, a particularly dark and unpleasant red, almost exactly the color is called dragon's blood. It shows animal passion and sensual desire of various kinds. Clear brown, almost burnt sienna, shows avarice. Hard, dull brown gray is a sign of selfishness, a color which is indeed painfully common. Deep, heavy gray signifies depression, while a livid pale gray is associated with fear. Gray-green is a signal of deceit, while brownish green, usually flecked with points and flashes of scarlet, betokens of jealousy. Green seems always to denote adaptability. In the lowest case, when mingled with selfishness, this adaptability becomes deceit. At a later stage, when the color becomes pure, it means rather the wish to be all things to all men, even though it may be chiefly for the sake of becoming popular and bearing a good reputation with them. It is still higher, more delicate, and more luminous aspect. It shows the divine power of sympathy. Affection expresses itself in all shades of crimson and rose. A full, clear carmine means a strong, healthy affection of a normal type. If stained heavily with brown gray, a selfish and grasping feeling is indicated, while pure pale rose marks that absolutely unselfish love which is possible only to high natures. It passes from the dull crimson of animal love to the most exquisite shades of delicate rose, like the early flashes of the dawning. The early flashes of the dawning, as the love becomes purified from all selfish elements. The flow out in wider and wider circles of generous and personal tenderness and compassion to all who are in need. Wow. With a touch of the blue of devotion in it, this means this may express a strong realization of the universal brotherhood of humanity. Deep orange imports pride or ambition, and the various shades of yellow denote intellect or intellectual gratification. Dull yellow orca implying the direction of such faculty to selfish purposes, while clear gamboge shows a distinctly higher type, And pale, luminous primrose yellow is a sign of the highest and most unselfish use of intellectual power, the pure reason directed to spiritual ends. The different shades of blue all indicate religious feelings. The range through all hues from the dark brown blue of selfish devotion or the pallid gray blue of fetish worship tinged with fear, up to the rich, deep, clear color of heartfelt adoration and the beautiful pale azure of the highest form, which implies self, renunciation, and union with the divine. The devotional thought of an unselfish heart is very lovely in color, like the deep blue of a summer sky. Though through such clouds of blue, which often shine out golden stars of great brilliancy, darting upwards like a shower of sparks. So we all have our natural auras. Sarah, many, she can see them around. She sees them around me. She sees them around the people that she gives counseling to. Many of us have this aura. We know about this. But when you begin to understand that your aura is actually directly impacted by your thought forms. Another consideration which must not be forgotten is the type of matter in which these forms are generated. If a thought be purely intellectual and impersonal, for example, if the thinker is attempting to solve a problem in algebra or geometry, the thought form and the wave of vibration will be confined entirely to the mental plane. If, however, the thought be of a spiritual nature, if it be tinged with love and aspiration or deep unselfish feeling, it will rise upwards from the mental plane and will borrow much of the splendor and glory of the Buddha level. In such a case, its influence is exceedingly powerful, and every such thought is a mighty force for good, which cannot but produce a decided effect upon all mental bodies within reach, if they contain any quality at all capable of response. It's alive. It's alive. I'm telling you, it's alive. If, on the other hand, the thought has in it something of self or of personal desire, at once its vibration turns downwards, and it draws around itself a body of astral matter in addition to its clothing of mental matter. Such a thought form is capable of acting upon the astral bodies of other men as well as their minds, so that it can not only rise through within them, but can also stir up their feelings. There are many of you already know this, you've experienced it. In politics, in religion, the discipline of both of those forms of thought form generators produce creatures that exist in the mental and astral realm only. They can identify, they can attack, they can attach, they can prey upon those minds. They can raise thoughts within you. They can also stir up feelings within you. It's as if once they attach their tendrils to you, they literally, once they come upon you, it comes literally, because remember, they have no physical form. They are a thought form. And once they integrate their essences, their energy into your astral mind, and you've got one there, because we are multi-dimensional creatures, you are a thought form from another essence, another realm. And this is how it's done. So when these attacks happen, those of us who are aware, it begins, we can literally constrict our auras, our shields, and you can see the intensity sometimes, well, all the times of these attacks. Thoughts are alive. They deal with vibration. They are known to exist, and they can change aspects. We would call them personalities to the different frequencies, the different vibrations. A thought is, in essence, what makes the building blocks of all matter. An electron, a neutron, a proton. We see it, and it has to be, ladies and gentlemen. This is not conjecture. Your thoughts are, they're a molecule, they're an atom. And when you learn to control thoughts, no matter what discipline, if you're a mathematician in accounting, let's say you're a statistician, let's say you're a doctor, let's say you're a whatever, you take these atoms with thoughts, and thought forms can join other thought forms within you. And as you continue to focus, continue to refine, continue to define, it becomes actual matter. Our brains are remarkable. It takes us, because we are what we are. We can say we're spirits. I don't even think we're spirits. That's what we like to say about it, but in essence, we are a thought form. We're in an invading species that has seized upon an opportunity in this realm. That's why brains are very important to all living things. Plants even have brains. So again, I ask the question, can you accurately describe the shape, the color, the size of your thoughts? If you are a serious initiate and you don't play stupid mental games, if you are really into this for understanding all of this, it comes down to your thoughts. Now, many people are so weak-minded that they are easily the fodder of more advanced, disciplined minds that manipulate them into such a state they don't even have their own thoughts anymore. Their thoughts are, and this is why, ask yourself, where do your thoughts come from? Are they all original? Do you really think you have an original thought? Really? The vast majority of the population today are merely empty shells. They have no discipline. They have no comprehension. They have no awareness. Other than that which has been programmed into them. Now, these are thought forms. Allow yourself to look at them, and I'm going to go slow, and I've actually titled to them, so this helps you build a relational database. That's what's happening here. You're programming yourself. So we're about to build you a relational database, so now you can even have that ability to define your thoughts. This is affection. Stare at it. You see, folks, that's life. And if I was to be very straight with you, that's what most of us look like. We may not be affection, but the essence here. Spirit has no form. Look at this. Now stop and think. Affection. Affection can be, I can now define it in a spatial concentric border. And now I can adapt my feelings of affection, creating my own thought form, which I'm going to eventually fashion into a living servitor. This is vague, selfish affection. And you can see the contamination, much like a cancer cell. Once it's contaminated, you see how it begins to grow and take over what was once a pure thought form. This is definite affection. Now, if you think about this in the real world, think about the first love of your life. Just stop now. Think about the first love of your life. How you would go home. All you could do is think about him or her. You were creating thought forms. In fact, some of us were so good, we actually created servitors because we eventually started dating, whatever. And so this is, in essence, what happens. Now, you can reverse this and you can see how definite hate can be targeted. There are three classes of thought forms. That which takes the image of a thinker, that's number one. When a man thinks of himself as in some distant place, you see, this is why I want you to start, before you go to sleep at night, start asking yourself, why are you calling yourself I? When a man thinks of himself in some distant place or wishes earnestly to be in that place, he makes a thought form in his own image, which appears there. Such a form has not infrequently been seen by others and has sometimes been taken for the astral body or the apparition of the man himself. In such a case, either the seer must have enough of clairvoyance for the time to be able to observe that astral shape, or the thought form must have sufficient strength to materialize itself. That is, to draw around itself temporarily a certain amount of physical matter. This is what we capture on cameras of ghost materializing or dematerializing. This is what's happening. It's a thought form, folks. That's all it is. And you will learn to do this on the other side. All of us will. Well, some of us get it, and I have to say, some don't. The thought which generates such a form as this must necessarily be a strong one, and it therefore employs a larger proportion of the matter of the mental body, so that though the form is small and compressed, when it leaves the thinker, it draws around it a considerable amount of astral matter and usually expands to life size before it appears at its destination. Many of you are probably figured this out. Remote viewing. We never saw it in the terms of materialization of thought forms, but that's what it's doing. the doppelganger effect. We can go through a lot of these. How the ancient shaman, magi, priestess knew how to create and make physical beings with flesh, bone, no blood, but flesh and bone that becomes animated and alive. Number two, that which takes the image of some material objects. When a man thinks of his friend, he forms within his mental body a minute image of that friend, which often passes outward and usually floats suspended in the air before him. In the same way, if he thinks of a room, a house, a landscape, tiny images of these things are formed. My beach. I can sit right here right now. I'm on my beach. It's real. Are formed within the mental body and afterwards externalized. This is equally true when he is exercising his imagination. Remember, you are a magi. You're imagination. The painter who forms a conception of his future picture builds it up out of matter of his mental body, then projects it into space in front of him, keeps it before his mind's eye, and copies it. The novelist, in the same way, builds images of his character in mental matter, and by the exercise of his will, moves these puppets from one position or grouping to another, so that the plot of his story is literally acted out before him. This is the interesting thing. Let me finish this and I'll get with our curiosity, with our curiously inverted conceptions of reality, it is hard for us to understand that these mental images actually exist and are so entirely objective that they may readily be seen by the clairvoyant and can even be rearranged by someone other than their creators. It's like when you read a book. Huge Dean Koontz fan. John Grisham, there's just a number of them. Why did we love those books? Well, Dean Koontz, each book, particularly in his peak of his career, you became the story. The characters were real. You had faces to them. You knew them intimately. Those are servitors, mind, thought forms. Lastly, that which takes a form entirely of its own. Now, did you get that last part? I can deconstruct your thought form and send it back to you. We'll get into that later. That's a damn frightening aspect, but it happens. Expressing its inherent qualities in the matter which it draws around it. Only thought forms of this third class can usually be illustrated. For to represent those of the first or second class would be merely to draw portraits or landscapes. In those types, we have the plastic, mental, or astral matter molded in imitation of forms belonging to the physical plane. In this third group, we have a glimpse of the forms natural to the astral and mental planes. These are reality, folks. These are actual dimensions you live in right now. Yet this very fact, which makes them so interesting, places an inseparable barrier in the way of their accurate reproduction. And it's learning about these barriers. Thought forms of this third class almost invariably manifest themselves upon the astral plane, as the vast majority of them are expressions of feelings as well as thought. Those of which we here give specimens are almost wholly of that class. except that we take a few examples of the beautiful thought forms created in definite meditation by those who, through long practice, have learned how to think. That's what I meant the beginning of this. Do you really know how to think? The vast majority of humans do not. We don't. They haven't a clue. Because if they did, you see what we see manifesting in our political world today, in the world stage, are, folks, there are those who can master the astral plane, the mental plane, the physical plane. They know how to do this. They work in a plane that most people refuse to believe exists, which is why they're so easily manipulated. This thought form is radiating affection. You see how this works? Yeah. This is peace and protection. Now, I'm sitting here and I am sending this to Kayla. Peace and protection. You know what? I can see her name. I can actually see her face because I've seen a picture of her before. So I have created right now in the mental plane, and I'm creating it in the astral because I'm sending it to her. There's no time or distance in the astral plane. None. None in the mental plane. It's only in the physical plane. In fact, I've just arrived at her front door, and just being able to touch that door, I can send that energy through the door. I haven't been invited in. See how that works? So why do you call yourself I? Why do you talk in thoughts to yourself? We all do. Isn't it odd? To whom are we talking to? Why do you think you are? What, because you think you have a body? Why even think thoughts to yourself? Why have conversations with yourself? This is called grasping animal affection. You see, in the heavens, thoughts live. In fact, as we look into the galaxy, the universe, it's thought. All matter is propelled by an energy of an unseen force. This is a vague religious feeling. And you know, you can almost feel this, right? And if you can begin to build now the basics that you don't have to have form and function. You can just be. Each definite thought produces a double effect, a radiating vibration and a floating form. The thought itself appears first to clairvoyant sight as a vibration in the mental body. And this may be either simple or complex. If the thought itself is absolutely simple, there is only the one rate of vibration, and only one type of mental matter will be strongly affected. And so, as you give your thoughts vibration, and as your thoughts become more complex, more multi-layered, the frequency and the vibration within that thought is multi-layer, and the vibrations will begin to actually mold and basically adapt to the other frequencies and vibrations, but allow them to express themselves within their own vibration. Does that make sense? Yeah. This one is Upward Rush of Devotion. Makes sense, doesn't it? When I give thanks to the one who gave me consciousness, this is how I envision it. Mine's a little different, but it still has the same effect. This is self-renunciation. Beautiful, isn't it? It has expression. There's a certain, I don't know, when I see this, I see serenity. I feel a sense of calmness. I can identify my thought form to this. It reminds me of like a big pillow I just want to fall back into. And, it just covers you. Pretty cool, isn't it? This is response to devotion. You see, in the astral realm, your thought forms attract other thought forms. And if the thought form is, in this case, one of devotion, gratitude, appreciation, it will respond in nature, in kind, in the astral, in the mental. I'm going to break off here. We're only a third of the way, but we'll pick it up on Wednesday. Folks, in essence, you have no form. None of us do. And the reality is we also have no limitations. The only thing that we encircle ourselves with are the limitations that we put upon ourselves or that has been put upon us. But it takes us to receive the servitor, the thought form, that then becomes integrated into our thought form. And that's why most people see themselves with limitations and they cannot express themselves outside their physical body. I think it's the saddest thing about humanity is that we seem to have this need to express ourselves through our sexuality. Well, that's the biggest restrictor right there. And then it gets compounded from there. So anyway, I'll get out of that. There I am. Wait a minute. Okay. Oh yeah, we still have much, much more. So anyway, what happened? There's the chat. Thank you, Amy. Love and favor to you as well. See, Sarah, I figured you did. Yeah. A lot of us do. It's just sometimes it takes the bus driver just to point out the road sign and say, we all know it, but there's a lot that we don't know. And if we add this gnosis to your repertoire of traits and characteristics, it'll make you superwoman, make you Superman. And then you're going to find out as quick as you can when you get into that plan where the astral becomes your dominion, the place where you play, the place that you roam, the place that you go to observe. You take this knowledge and then you become literally at the You got the clay in your hand. You got the spinning wheel, and you can fashion it. And in fact, if any of you are good in pottery and clay making, that's how the ancients did it. That's how they formed their servitors. That's how they formed their gods, because the servitors became their gods. So anyway, well, I hope everyone had some fun. Um, Wait till you see the rest of this. It gets better. I mean, already what we can do this just on a community basis will be amazing, because now we have something that we can focus on collectively. If I said to you, I want all of you now to stop and I want you to think of peace. So now you know, well, I'm going to put blue to my peace, and I'm going to shape my peace. I don't know. I want it to make it like a star. I want my peace to be radiating out to everything. Now, see, all of us can join in that. You would be creating into my creation. I will be adding into your creation. And in the astral and the mental realm, we are creating a thought form that becomes very powerful. Time to hit the bong. Well, absolutely, Kit. And speaking of which, it's 10101. So I am going to cut this off. I hope you found it interesting. Let me know. This is as Marlon Brando would say in the Freshman. This is serious stuff. This is life, and it is life. If you think that you're going to exist when you lay down your body, you are going to only be a thought form. It's true. All right, Kaz, we'll see you tomorrow with Miss Trina. Thank you, everyone. Y'all are a groovy bunch of people. I love you all. Your family. Lynn and I see you as family as well. And, you know, we may never meet, but we will meet. In fact, many of us already have. It's just that many are not even aware of it yet. Hey, Robert V. It is very interesting. I'm telling you, it's the real stuff, man. It's true, Robert V. If you practice this, if you mentally start working this, thank you, wise April Fool. Appreciate it, hon. Yeah, virtual hugs to everybody, but serious, Mr. Robert, it works, buddy. It is powerful stuff. You'll start having, let me just tell you this. If you have not been lucky, now there is a thing as luck. It's real. But the thing about it is, luck only goes to those who respect it, invite it in, appreciate it, call upon it. And once luck finds you to be favorable, you become lucky all the time. You can walk out of the grocery store and find a $20 bill, or sometimes you can walk out of, a fast food restaurant and find, $42, two 20s and two ones wrapped up. Yeah, it happens all the time. Think about it. You create a servitor, a thought form that welcomes luck, fortune. These are real, folks. This is not bullshit. It actually how it works. And one of the greatest masters that taught me this was Donald Trump. When I read his book, Art of the Deal, Trump was the one who really brings out. You can see it in his talk. To him, luck is good to him because it comes to him. He doesn't question it. He doesn't for 1 second doubt it. And you see it in all the time. He says, well, I hope that luck is with you. You see, it's a whole different thing. Lucky Stone, by the way, great interview. I saw you, Lucky, with Robert V and David Castle. Great interview, great hour there. It was really good stuff. All right, folks, I'll see y'all tomorrow with Miss Trina, and we'll have Miss Kaz Hawk. And I love this. This is what it's all about. And hey, love yourself, love the others around you. Start creating thought forms that serve you. So many create thought forms that work against them. Think about it.